Hello, everyone. It's Charlton. Their shooting incident in Vallejo, California, which is in the Bay Area. There's Vallejo right there, San Francisco, Oakland. He's a rapper, and he was killed. His name is Willie McCoy. Is his real name? He goes by Willie Bo. I never heard of the dude before, but I don't really listen to rap. But his family's obviously very upset about the situation and the circumstances under which he was killed. Are it's being investigated, and it's definitely odd. All right, there's actually I was uploading my video and I just saw they actually have some cell phone footage of the night, February 9th at the Taco Bell Drive-In. You can't really see anything, but that's one of the police vehicles there. And this person has a view of it to some extent, but you can hear the gunfire. I mean, clearly, that you get a much better idea of this incident from that. Let me just play that for you right now. Hold on.
They just blocked the drive-thru. The guy over there doesn't want to come out. I don't know why. Fuck, dude. Holy fuck, dude.
So, I mean, you just can hear massive gunfire in a very, very short period of time. But that gives you a better idea of what happened. Just want to share that to you. I just saw this right. I mean, it was literally already uploading my video, and then I stopped so that I could include this. All right, on to the rest of the video. And here's the Vallejo Police Department press release from February 12th. The incident happened on the 10th, I believe. I believe it was Saturday evening, Sunday around 10:30 p.m. So he was at a Taco Bell, and he he's probably I'm assuming he was having drinking, maybe. He had fallen asleep in the drive-thru. This literally happened in the drive-thru. It's totally crazy. And he had either passed out or fallen asleep at the wheel in the drive-thru, and somebody from the Taco Bell called 911. And it escalated from there. So the police come. I'm going to read through their press release, which is fairly detailed. And even in their press release, you are left with, asking questions of why, why did this happen? Why did this go down like this? And I believe I'm going to just quickly summarize before I read it. So the police get there. He's slumped over the wheel, I think, sleeping or passed out. And but the car is in drive, and he. That part's a little confusing to me. I don't know if his foot was on the brake while he's asleep. But the doors are locked. They can see him in there, obviously, slumped over the wheel, and they can see a gun on his lap, and he's passed out. So I think they took precautions to make sure he wouldn't keep driving forward. What those precautions were, I don't know. And they explain that. They say this in the press release. That they do that, and then they go to basically try to get him up. But as soon as he wakes up, he immediately goes for the gun on his lap. I don't know. We just don't know. I mean, I wasn't there. I don't know exactly what happened when they go to wake him up. But they say that and that he didn't respond to, calls to drop his weapon, and they just fired at him. And I think 6 different officers end up firing at his vehicle. According to this NBC report, it says at least 20 may have hit his vehicle, according to his family, having counted the bolt holes in his car and killed him, And so I'm just assuming the family's not happy about this, that he's sitting in the drive-thru at the Taco Bell, whether he, whatever the reason is that caused him to go to sleep is, I wouldn't say it's beside the point, but it certainly is not. And then he's got a gun on his lap. Why he's driving around with a gun on his lap, who knows? But he was killed. So, like I said, he's did I even say he's a rapper? Yeah, I did. He's a rapper, and I don't know, some rappers they don't really care about social media. So social media is not a real good indication of how large of a celebrity they become. He may have been definitely up and coming. I really don't know though, because I just don't know rap. I mean, actually, he's got 10,000 followers on Instagram, and he's over here on YouTube as well, which is with not a huge channel. But like I said, some of these dudes they don't really care about social media. They're pretty much about the music, and I don't know. I mean, that's so I just don't know how well known he was. This is pretty frequent that rappers get shot or get killed. XXX Tentacion, who I didn't know at all, and who was on his way. He was already pretty much a huge star, but he was had a huge career ahead of him. I think he had just was another rapper who was shot and killed under unusual circumstances. So very quickly, let me kind of cruise through this. So it says the Vallejo Police Department continues to work closely with the Solano County District Attorney's Office to conduct a thorough and in-depth investigation into the officer-involved shooting that occurred on February 9th, 2019. So it was Saturday. It was the 9th, not the 10th. The identity of the deceased has not been confirmed as of this morning. This is the 12th of this press release, but it is. The report here in the San Francisco Chronicle from the 10th, which actually has some of the very same wording from this press release from the Vallejo Police Department that was released on the 12th, doesn't name the person, but it's now, he's now been named as Willie McCoy, who goes by Willie Bo, who's the rapper who I was just talking about. So, any loss of life is tragic, stated the police chief. The investigation is in the early stages. However, a summary of the events that unfolded that night of the shooting. At approximately 10:36 p.m., the Vallejo Police Department Communications Center received a 911 call from Taco Bell employees located at 974 Admiral Callaghan Lane regarding a subject slumped over in the driver's seat in the drive-thru. Two Vallejo Police Patrol officers arrived on scene to check the welfare of the driver. As the officers approached the vehicle, they noticed the driver was unresponsive and had a handgun on his lap. Officers performed a visual check to determine if other occupants were in the vehicle and began to formulate a plan to safely resolve the situation. The two officers decided to hold their position and did not attempt to wake the driver. Instead, they decided to wait for additional officers to arrive on scene and ensured that people in the parking lot were safe and did not approach the vehicle. An additional patrol officer arrived on the scene, and the officers elected to attempt to open the driver's door with the intention of one officer swiftly retrieving the firearm from the subject's lap, while another officer covered him. Unfortunately, the vehicle was locked. The officers noticed that the vehicle's transmission was in drive. At this time, additional units arrived, and the officers positioned a marked patrol vehicle in front of the subject's vehicle to prevent forward or erratic movement. Officers requested a patrol supervisor to respond to the scene for further assistance and began to position a marked Vallejo police car to the rear of the subject's vehicle. While officers were still positioning a patrol unit to the rear of the vehicle and waiting for the supervisor, the driver began to suddenly move and looked at the uniformed patrol officers. Officers gave the driver several commands to put his hands up. The driver did not comply and instead quickly moved his hands downward for the firearm. Fearing for their safety, 6 officers fired their duty weapons at the driver. Officers continued to yell commands at the driver and ultimately reached through the broken glass of the driver's window to unlock the vehicle. Officers removed the driver from the vehicle, began rendering medical assistance, and attempted life-saving efforts on the driver. Unfortunately, the driver was pronounced dead at the scene. 6 officers fired their weapons, firing multiple rounds. All shots were fired in approximately 4 seconds. The officers have been placed on administrative leave. Information confirming the driver's identity, how many times the driver was struck by gunfire, and toxicology will not be available until the autopsy is completed. Once the Vallejo Police Department receives confirmation from the Solano County Coroner's Office of the identity of the driver, the Vallejo Police Department Professional Standards Division Department will attempt to make contact with the driver's next of kin. It's pretty remarkable. So there's the dude there. Here's his video. I have the sound off, or else it'll get it'll get copyright strikes. So that's the dude right there, and this is his Instagram page. So, that very well could have been the vehicle he was in. I think he was in a Mercedes sedan. I'm pretty sure that's it. So, the family of Willie McCoy, who was fatally shot by police at a Taco Bell in Vallejo over the weekend, are calling his death a senseless act. McCoy, who made music under the moniker Willie Bo, was the target of multiple rounds fired by 6 Vallejo Police Department officers. The oldest brother, Mark McCoy, explained Tuesday responding officers made no attempt at a peaceful resolution. Instead, he determined they took the law into their own hands. "You're not the judge, jury, and executioner," he said of the responding officers who handled the call. In a statement, police have claimed the shots were fired in fear for the officers' own safety. Police also claim that McCoy had reached for his handgun in his lap at the time he was killed, though they haven't alleged that he pointed the weapon at officers or anyone else. And I don't know if there's gonna be body cam or what. NBC, the family of Young Bay area rapper who was killed when police officers opened fire after he had fallen asleep in his car, is demanding the release of police body cam footage. There you go. And questioning whether deadly force was justified. Police in Vallejo, California, said in a news release that the 6 officers shot multiple rounds at the driver, identified by his family as Willie McCoy, 20 years old, in the span of 4 seconds Saturday night in a Taco Bell parking lot. It's unclear how many bullets struck McCoy, but his family said they believed at least 20 may have hit his car based on the number of holes that witnesses counted at the scene. It seems like an execution, David Harrison, McCoy's cousin and manager, said Wednesday. "It looks like my baby cousin was executed by a firing squad." The Vallejo Police Department said it is working with the Solano County District Attorney's Office to investigate the shooting, the latest in a department that is that in recent years has been criticized for excessive use of force and has been the subject of civil rights complaints. Officials also declined further comment about plans to release video from the incident and questions regarding the police protocol. And that's his cousin right there, David Harrison. That's the person who's commenting, and his manager on the left, and that's Willie McCoy, or Willie Bo, on the right. Police said he was given several commands to put his hands up, but he did not comply and appeared to quickly move his hands down to the firearm. The officers began fearing for their safety and fired their weapons, police said. They continued to yell commands at the driver and then reached through a broken window to unlock his door and begin life-saving efforts. Harrison said he has questions about where the officers were positioned when they shot his cousin and whether they saw him reach for a gun. A preliminary investigation found a fully loaded .40 caliber semi-automatic handgun with an extended magazine, which had been reported stolen out of Oregon, authorities said. Harrison said the officers could have been more strategic and remained behind the car and used a loudspeaker if they feared for their lives, since they didn't know how startled McCoy would become. I think that's what I came to my mind as well, as why didn't they just stand back with like a bullhorn and say, get out of your car. I don't know, but that's exactly what came to my head too. Harrison said McCoy, known by a stage name Willie Bo, had been in the recording studio in recent days and was on tour with his group FBG. He had been splitting time between family in Vallejo and Oakland. On the night he was killed, Harrison added, McCoy may have gone to the Taco Bell for a bite to eat and was so exhausted that he fell asleep. He said he didn't know McCoy to own a firearm. Lawmakers in California have pursued legislation that would set rules for when police can use deadly force and instead seek non-lethal alternatives to de-escalate a situation. All right, well, that is the story there, man. And thanks for watching my videos. Please subscribe to my channel. Give me a like down below, and I will see you in the next video. Later, man.